Justin Bieber saves Billie Eilish from abusive relationship. Justin Bieber and Billie Eilish have always had an interesting connection with each other. In just a few short years since Justin Bieber publicly expressed his love for Billie's music, Billie has become an international sensation almost as big as Justin Bieber. Whether it's her mumblecore vocals, her unconventional style of clothing, or her ability to speak honestly about mental health and her experience of Tourette's syndrome, something about Eilish has clearly struck a chord with millions of young people across the world, including Beliebers. The recent documentary, Billie Eilish, The World's a Little Blurry, chronicles the artist's swift rise to fame and depicts the highs and lows that have been taking place behind the scenes. As one can imagine, you could be the hottest, most beloved pop star in the world, but that doesn't protect you from internal struggles, insecurities, or abusive relationships. In an interview with Vanity Fair, Billie talked about her struggle. "When I was in a relationship that was very emotionally abusive. That was a huge part of my life," Eilish said in the cover story. "And nobody knew it. It was this main thing that was taking control of my life." Eilish's ex-boyfriend is a rapper named Brandon Adams, who goes by the stage name 7amp. Although the Everything I Wanted performer makes it clear that she's not over her ex, she had to end the relationship with Adams over this apparently abusive relationship. "I just wasn't happy," she explained in an interview. "I didn't want the same things he wanted, and I don't think that's fair for him. I don't think you should be in a relationship super excited about things that the other person couldn't care less about. I don't think that's fair to you. I don't think that's fair to him. There was just a lack of effort. I was literally like, dude, you don't have enough love to love yourself, so you can't love me, dude. And you don't. You think you do." Now, it seems like Justin Bieber has heard Billie's story and feels protective over her. Justin Bieber is a classic example of a young artist who went off the rails at the height of his fame, but was able to recuperate and build his reputation back up from the ground. Speaking with Apple Music's Zane Lowe in an interview, Bieber shared that he feels protective of the then 18-year-old Eilish, apparently making a reference to her abusive relationship. "I definitely feel protective of her," Bieber said. "It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone telling me they love me and just turn their backs on you in a second." The Yummy artist said that although he wants to be there for Eilish, he doesn't want to force that relationship with her. Now, it's not like Billie doesn't have a history of being Bieber's fan since she was a child. In fact, Billie's mom considered sending her to therapy over her Bieber obsession, when Bieber fever swept across the world in the early 2010s. Billie never thought that she'd one day meet her idol in person. Billie was one among thousands, if not millions of fans, who had Bieber's posters plastered all over her wall. She knew his birth date, his place of birth, his hometown, and pretty much every single detail about his career and personal life. It was almost like she had confidently conceived an entire relationship with Justin Bieber, where he knew of her existence and was equally in love with her as she had been with him, even though Billie was nowhere near stardom at this point. "When I was like 12, I was not a fan of him. That was like my first love. That was the person I was in love with. In my head, he was in love with me. It was like a relationship with a person," Billie Eilish has stated in an interview. Her obsession with Bieber had been so intense that Billie's folks considered sending her to therapy at one point. Her mom, Maggie Baird, shared in Billie's documentary that they witnessed Billie's overwhelming adoration for Bieber and wondered, how are we going to cope with this? To give an example, Billie would actively break down in tears while listening to Justin's song, As Long As You Love Me, released in 2012. She would cry in the car, at the dining table, or wherever her emotions overcame her. "I just want to say we did consider taking you to therapy for how incredibly you were in so much pain over Justin Bieber." So you can only imagine how Billie felt when she met her idol for the first time. She sobbed in Justin's arms upon meeting him for the first time. To no one's surprise, Billie's first meeting with Justin Bieber was a total emotional roller coaster. Thanks to the age of 24/7 social media, Billie's reaction is available online for everyone's viewing pleasure. This interaction was prompted by Justin Bieber's DM to Billie, sent during Coachella 2019. He actually resent a DM that Billie had sent him in the first place, when she was a die-hard fan. The two met during Ariana Grande's headlining set, and you can tell from Billie's flustered body language that the moment meant everything to her. Billie's parents discussed this moment in the documentary, saying, "She sobbed in his arms. He was so sweet to her, and it meant so much to her. And it seemed to have meant a lot to him." On the very same day, Justin posted a photo of himself and Billie, the caption reading, "So this happened. Long and bright future ahead for you." Billie also discussed the weekend in an Instagram story the same evening, saying, "Some of the most life-changing things I'll ever experience happened over the weekend." She said that she was completely moved by the moment and still hadn't processed it. It's safe to say that Billie's long-awaited first meeting with her idol had gone better than she could have ever hoped for. What's different for her is that she wasn't just any old fan that Bieber would likely never meet again. He kept checking in on her throughout the year, and even FaceTimed her when she won 5 Grammys in February 2018.
And the Grammy goes to... Okay, we doing it? Billie Eilish!
Billie Eilish. When we fall asleep, where do we go?
Producer Phineas O'Connell. Engineers John Greeno, Rob.
He told her that he's proud of her, to which she replied, "Thanks to you." Having experienced stardom at a shockingly young age, Justin knows all too well about being careful of not only others, but yourself. In some way or the other, he played a role in Billie's journey thus far, so it's not too surprising that he feels somewhat responsible for whatever she may or may not go through. He has spoken about the deceptive nature of fame in that people can be shouting out their love for you in one second, but they turn their back on you in the next. You don't know who to trust, and you feel broken, lonely, and helpless, which becomes an impetus for bad decisions all over the place. Their young but powerful friendship proves that Justin has been more than willing to follow through on his promise. Billie's reaction to seeing the emotional video also reiterates how much she values his presence in her life. She posted a bunch of photos of her childhood bedroom wall decked out in Bieber merchandise and captioned, "Stream changes," referring to Bieber's latest album. So folks, Billie's abusive relationship teaches us one thing. The darkest moments of your life can be a learning lesson for someone else. Justin could have very well taken a few photos with Billie and left her alone for good following their viral interaction. Yet, he decided to strike up a friendship and undertake the role of a mentor. He has experienced some horrific things in the industry, and has made mistakes of his own as well. Rather than locking those memories up in a box, he has decided to protect Billie and watch her back as she explores this wild world out there by herself. The darkest moments of your life can be a learning lesson for someone else. You can actively make a difference in someone else's life if you decide to direct your pain for good, for the purpose of creating love and friendship. Justin might have never expected one of his screaming young fans to become a contemporary, but now that she has, he's chosen to take the more responsible route and keep her safe. We're wishing Justin and Billie a beautiful friendship that lasts forever.